I'm Martin Prescott, 69 years old, and for 6 years, I paid my son-in-law's bills because I believed he was raising my granddaughter alone after my only daughter died. Mortgage help, school fees, medical costs, groceries, car repairs, anything he said the little girl needed, I paid it. I thought that was what a father did when grief left a child without her mother. Then one Saturday afternoon, my granddaughter was halfway through her ice cream when she stopped eating and looked across the parking lot like she was afraid someone might hear her. "Grandpa," she asked, "why does Mom sleep behind the church?" My hand froze around the spoon. I asked her to say it again. She pointed toward the road, toward the side of town where Grace Harbor Community Church stood behind a row of old maples. "The lady with Mom's jacket," she whispered. "Dad said not to talk about her." My daughter had been dead for 6 years. At least, that was what I had believed. Before I tell you what happened when I went to that church, take a second to let me know where you're watching from. And if you like family stories where one small sentence pulls years of lies into the open, stay with me, because what my granddaughter saw behind that church changed the way I looked at my family forever. I did not answer her right away. My granddaughter, Maya Keller, was 8 years old, and she had the kind of face that told the truth before her mouth knew what to do with it. She sat across from me in a corner booth outside Dayton, holding a spoon over melting vanilla ice cream, waiting for me to explain something no child should have had to ask. "What church?" I said. "The one with the blue sign. Dad takes me there sometimes when they have the food boxes." "Grace Harbor?" Maya nodded. I knew the church. Grace Harbor Community Church sat on the edge of Miamisburg, past an auto parts store and a row of old maples. I had never been a member, but I had fixed a refrigerator in their fellowship hall years earlier and sent a few donations after my wife died. "Who told you that woman was your mom?" "Nobody." "Then why do you think she is?" Maya stirred the ice cream without eating it. "She wears Mom's jacket." That answer hit me in a place I was not ready for. My daughter, Jenna Prescott Keller, had owned a faded denim jacket with a yellow sun patch stitched over the left pocket. My wife, Linda Prescott, had sewn that patch after Jenna tore the pocket in high school. Jenna kept the jacket long after it should have been thrown away because Linda had fixed it by hand. Maya had seen that jacket only in old pictures. "Did your dad see her?" I asked. Her shoulders tightened. "He saw me looking." "What did he say?" "He said some people look like people we miss. Then he told me not to bring it up because it would make you sad." That sounded exactly like Trevor Keller. Trevor was my son-in-law, Jenna's husband and Maya's father. He was 41, neat, quiet, and hard to read. When Jenna was alive, I told myself he was just a private man. After she was gone, I told myself grief had made him colder. Those are the explanations you make when a child is involved, and you do not want to start a war. I paid the check, walked Maya to my truck, and did not ask another question until we were away from the restaurant. I did not want her to feel interrogated. She was a little girl who had already been told to keep something quiet. On the drive back to Trevor's house, she looked out the passenger window and kept both hands around the paper bag of leftover fries. "How many times have you seen her?" I asked. "3. Was it always at Grace Harbor?" "Yes." "Did she talk to you?" Maya shook her head. "Did she look at you?" "Yes." "How?" "Like she wanted to come over but couldn't." I kept my eyes on the road. "When was the last time?" "Last week. Dad was loading food boxes in the car. She was behind the building by the white van." "What did she do?" "She cried. I had to pull into a gas station lot and stop the truck." Maya watched me with worry in her eyes, not because she understood what she had said, but because she understood what it had done to me. "Grandpa?" "I'm all right. You look mad." "I'm not mad at you." She nodded once, but I could tell she was not convinced. I almost promised her I would fix it. Adults say that to children because it comforts us, not because we know we can do it. I had spent 6 years believing my daughter was dead, and I was not going to put another impossible promise on Maya. So I said the only safe thing. "I'm going to find out who she is." Maya looked down. "Please don't tell Dad I said anything." "I won't." "Promise?" "I promise." When I dropped her off, Trevor opened the front door before we reached the porch. Trevor smiled at Maya, then at me. "You two have a good time?" "Fine," I said. Maya slipped past him and went inside. Trevor kept one hand on the doorframe. "She eat dinner?" "Ice cream and fries." "So, not exactly." He gave a polite laugh. "Thanks for taking her. I had a couple errands run long." "Everything okay?" he asked. "Sure." He studied me a second too long. "You seem quiet. Long day." He accepted that, or pretended to. I drove home without turning on the radio. My house still carried Linda in small ways I had never found the courage to remove. Her reading glasses stayed in the drawer beside the couch. I opened it before I took off my jacket. The yellow thread was still there. That was when I let myself remember the accident. 6 years earlier, Jenna left Trevor's house on a night when the rain had turned the roads mean. Trevor said they had argued. Not a violent argument, not anything dramatic enough to make police look at him harder, just a husband and wife having the kind of fight married people sometimes have when bills, parenting, and exhaustion stack up. According to him, Jenna said she needed air. She drove away. By morning, she was gone. Her car was found near a low road outside Germantown where water had crossed the shoulder. The front end was damaged. One door was open. Her purse was gone, her phone was gone, and the search teams found enough personal items downstream to make hope feel childish after the first week. No body was ever recovered. At the time, that missing body kept me alive. Linda, too. We said Jenna could have been picked up by someone. We said she might have been injured and confused. We said every desperate version of maybe because the alternative would have split us open. Trevor was the first one to say Maya needed stability. I hated him for it for about 10 minutes, then hated myself because he was not wrong. Maya was 2 years old. She needed meals, clean clothes, bedtime, preschool forms, dentist appointments, and adults who did not fall apart every time someone said her mother's name. A memorial service came months later. I stood beside Trevor while people talked about Jenna like her life had closed cleanly. Linda held Maya through most of it. When the service ended, my wife went into the bathroom and stayed there so long I had to ask my sister to check on her. Linda was never the same after that. Linda died the following year after a sudden medical complication that started with chest pain and ended in a hospital room full of machines. I lost my wife without ever getting to tell my daughter goodbye. After that, Maya became the only part of our family I could still protect. Trevor had a job, but he said being a single father changed everything. Daycare cost more than he expected. Medical bills came in pieces. The house payment was tight. Maya needed clothes, school supplies, summer programs, and later counseling because she asked why other kids had mothers at pickup. I owned Prescott Appliance Repair, a small shop I started in Dayton after leaving a factory maintenance job in my 40s. We repaired washers, dryers, ovens, refrigerators, and the kind of older equipment most companies wanted people to replace instead of fix. It was not glamorous, but it paid steady. I had savings, no mortgage, and no one left at home to spend money on. So I helped. At first I paid specific bills: preschool tuition, pediatric visits, a heating repair at Trevor's house, a balance at the dentist. Later, when Trevor said it would be easier if he handled some expenses directly, I started transferring money monthly and told him to keep receipts. He did keep some, not all. That should have bothered me more. But Maya was always clean, fed, and enrolled in school. Trevor's house stayed in good shape. He never showed up asking for cash with wild stories. He looked tired most of the time, but so did half the parents I knew. When I asked about Jenna, he answered in short sentences. She loved Maya. She was under a lot of stress. I wish I had stopped her from leaving. Those words sounded like guilt, and I understood guilt well enough to leave it alone. Over time, Trevor controlled the rhythm of my relationship with Maya. He decided which weekends worked. He decided which school events I heard about. He called me when he needed help and went quiet when he did not. If I pushed too hard, he would remind me that Maya had already lost one parent and did not need tension between the adults she had left. I backed down more often than I should have. That night after the ice cream, I sat at my kitchen table with Linda's sewing basket open and my phone beside it. I searched Grace Harbor Community Church. Their website showed Sunday services, a food pantry, a women's outreach program, and something called safe parking support for people temporarily living out of vehicles. I clicked through photos from a community meal. I wrote the addresses on a yellow pad, then crossed them out because writing them made the whole thing feel too real. I did not see Jenna. Still, Maya's voice would not leave me. The lady with mom's jacket. Dad said not to talk about her. I almost called Trevor then. My thumb hovered over his number long enough for the screen to dim. If I asked him directly, one of two things would happen. Either he would explain it in a way that made me feel foolish, or he would know Maya had talked. If the woman behind that church really was nobody, the call could wait. If she was somebody, it had to wait. The next morning, before opening my shop, I drove past Grace Harbor. I did not pull into the lot. I slowed near the driveway, saw the blue sign, the fellowship hall, the row of white vans parked behind the building, and a small gravel section near the back fence, where 3 cars sat with sunshades in their windshields. No woman in a denim jacket. No answer. I kept driving. I still ran the first 2 calls because customers do not care that your family history has opened under your feet. A broken oven is a broken oven, and a refrigerator leaking across a kitchen floor still has to be handled before lunch. By lunch, I made a decision. I would not accuse Trevor. I would not scare Maya. I would not turn the story into something bigger until I had seen enough with my own eyes to know what I was dealing with. But that afternoon, when Trevor texted me a photo of a utility bill and asked if I could help cover it before Friday, I looked at the amount differently. Not because it was large, because for the first time in 6 years, I wondered whether the money I had sent him had been buying safety for Maya or silence from everyone else. The next morning, I drove to Grace Harbor before opening my shop. I parked across the street first. I simply did not know what kind of man walked into a church and asked if his dead daughter was sleeping behind it. I watched volunteers unload boxes from a white van. 2 older women carried canned goods into a side door. A man in a brown coat swept leaves away from the handicap ramp. Everything looked ordinary enough to make Maya's question feel even stranger. After 10 minutes, I crossed the road. The main doors were unlocked. Inside, the lobby smelled like old coffee and floor cleaner. A bulletin board listed Sunday service times, a grief group, a food pantry schedule, and a community assistance program. Near the bottom was a small printed notice about safe parking support by appointment. A woman came out of the office carrying a stack of folders. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for Pastor Ellen Brooks." "That's me." Pastor Ellen was in her late 50s, with gray hair cut short and the tired eyes of someone who had listened to more trouble than most people could carry. She did not smile in a church poster way. She looked at me like she was already deciding whether I had come to help someone or make trouble for them. "My name is Martin Prescott." She shifted the folders to one arm. "I know that name. You fixed our refrigerator a few years back." "That's right. What can I do for you, Mr. Prescott?" I should have prepared a clean answer. I had rehearsed 3 different versions on the drive over and disliked all of them. Standing there, I used the only version I could say without sounding like a liar. "My granddaughter saw a woman here she believes is her mother." Pastor Ellen's expression changed only slightly. "That sounds painful." "It is more than painful." "I understand why you would say that, but I need to ask a careful question. Is your granddaughter's mother missing, or is there a custody matter we should know about?" "She was believed dead." Pastor Ellen went still. "For how long?" 6 years. The folders lowered an inch. I took out my wallet and showed her the old family photo I kept behind my insurance card. Jenna was standing between Linda and me in our backyard, wearing the denim jacket with the yellow sun patch. Maya was a toddler on her hip, laughing at something outside the frame. Pastor Ellen studied the photo longer than a polite person normally would. "Who is this?" "My daughter, Jenna Prescott Keller." "And the child?" "My granddaughter." She handed the photo back carefully. "Mr. Prescott, I can't discuss people who receive help here, not without their permission. I'm not asking you to give me someone's file. You may not intend to, but questions like this can become that very quickly. I understand privacy." "Then you understand I have to protect it even when a story breaks my heart." I believed her. That did not make the answer easier to accept. I put the photo away. "My granddaughter said the woman had my daughter's jacket." "A jacket can pass from one person to another." "She also said her father told her not to talk about it." That got her attention. Pastor Ellen looked toward the office hallway, then back at me. "Who is her father?" "Trevor Keller." "Does he attend this church?" "No." "Does he use the food pantry?" "That's what my granddaughter said." She took that in quietly. "I still can't confirm anything." "I'm not asking you to confirm. I'm asking whether there is a safe way to find out if my daughter is alive without putting anyone in danger." Pastor Ellen did not answer right away. From somewhere deeper in the building, I heard boxes sliding across the floor and a woman laughing at something soft enough that I could not make out the words. Finally, she said, "Wait here." She stepped into the office and shut the door. I stood in the lobby beside the bulletin board. On one flyer, a list of emergency resources included food, showers, mail pickup, gas cards, and counseling referrals. I had never thought much about those services before. They were the kind of things churches printed for people whose lives had broken in ways that did not fit into one bill or one bad month. When Pastor Ellen returned, another woman was with her. "This is Sandra Foster," she said. She coordinates our outreach program. Sandra Foster was in her 40s, wearing jeans, a navy cardigan, and a badge clipped to a lanyard. She looked less like church staff and more like someone who had spent years telling frightened people which forms actually mattered. Pastor Ellen had clearly told her enough. Sandra did not ask me to start over. "Mr. Prescott, what exactly did your granddaughter see?" I repeated Maya's words as closely as I could without dressing them up. I told him about the denim jacket, the white van, the woman crying, and Trevor telling Maya not to talk about it. Sandra's face tightened at Trevor's name, but she covered it quickly. "Have you contacted him?" "No." "Good." Pastor Ellen glanced at her. Sandra corrected herself. "I mean, that gives everyone time to avoid assumptions." But the first answer was the honest one. "Do you know him?" I asked. "Not personally." "That isn't a no." Sandra folded her hands in front of her. "We have seen him here a few times with a child. Food pantry, mostly. He signs in under his own name. That much is not confidential, because he uses a public assistance program. With Maya? I believe so. And the woman?" Pastor Ellen gave her a warning look. Sandra chose her words carefully. "There is a woman connected to our outreach program who may resemble the person in your photo." I felt the blood leave my hands. "May resemble?" "That is as far as I can go without her permission." "Does she use the name Jenna?" "No." The answer came too quickly, and it told me more than she intended. "What name does she use?" "I can't tell you that." "Is she here now?" Sandra did not answer. Pastor Ellen stepped in. "Mr. Prescott, if this is your daughter, you have to understand something. People do not come to us because their lives are simple. Some are hiding from abuse. Some are dealing with untreated trauma. Some are afraid of legal trouble, real or imagined. If we mishandle this, we may make her run. She thinks I'm dangerous?" "I don't know what she thinks," Sandra said, "but she is afraid of being found by someone." "Trevor?" Neither woman spoke. That silence became an answer I could not use in court, but could feel in my chest. I looked toward the side hallway. "Can you ask her if she'll see me?" Pastor Ellen shook her head. "Not this way. Not with you standing here and us carrying a photograph into a room." "Then what am I supposed to do?" "Give us time." "How much?" Sandra said. "A few hours, maybe a day. We need to speak with her privately. We need to know whether contact would help her or put her at risk. She is my daughter." "If she is your daughter," Pastor Ellen said gently, "then she has lived 6 years with whatever kept her away from you. That does not disappear because you walked through our door." I hated the sentence because it was true. I gave them my number. Sandra wrote it on a yellow sticky note, then asked for one more thing. "Does she have any identifying mark we could ask about without showing her the photo?" "A small scar under her chin." "How did she get it?" "She fell off a porch step when she was 9 and hit the edge of a flower pot. Linda wanted to take her to the emergency room. Jenna argued because she had a spelling test the next day." Pastor Ellen looked at Sandra. I added, "She still went to the emergency room. She also got a perfect score on the test." For the first time, Sandra almost smiled. That kind of detail helps. I left because they asked me to, but I did not go far. I drove to a diner 2 blocks away and sat in a booth with coffee I did not want. Customers came and went around me. A man in work boots argued with someone on his phone about a delivery. A waitress refilled my cup twice without being asked. My shop manager called just before noon about a customer who wanted a refrigerator repair, moved ahead of a warranty job. I told him to handle it, however he thought was fair. "You okay?" he asked. "No." He paused. "Need me to close early?" "Not yet." That was the closest I came to telling anyone else. At 1:40, Pastor Ellen called. "She agreed to let you come back," she said. "But there are conditions." "I'll follow them." "You meet with me and Sandra first. You do not approach anyone in the parking lot. You do not raise your voice. You do not block a door. If she says stop, you stop." "I understand." "And Mr. Prescott?" "Yes?" "If this is who you believe it is, do not expect the woman you remember to walk back to you all at once." I drove back with both hands tight on the wheel. This time I parked in the church lot. Sandra met me at the side entrance and led me through the fellowship hall. Long tables were stacked against one wall. A freezer hummed in the corner. Near the back door, several plastic bins held donated coats and blankets. A denim sleeve hung over the edge of one bin. I stopped walking. Sandra looked back. "That bin is for laundry," she said. The jacket was faded almost white at the seams. The yellow sun patch had frayed around the edges, but the stitching was Linda's. I knew it before I touched it. I did not pick it up. If I touched it, I might not have been able to keep standing. Pastor Ellen was waiting near a small office off the hallway. She is not ready for a face-to-face conversation, she said. You told me she agreed. She agreed to let you be in the building. That is not the same thing. I swallowed what I wanted to say. Sandra opened the office door. Inside was a small table, 3 chairs, a tissue box, and a window that looked toward the back lot. Through the glass, I could see the white van Maya had mentioned, in the gravel section behind the church fence. A woman stood near the van with her back to me. She was thin. Her hair was shorter than Jenna's had been, and she wore a brown sweatshirt instead of the jacket. She bent to lift a laundry basket from the ground, then paused halfway up and touched her left wrist with her right hand. Jenna used to do that when she was trying not to cry. My knees weakened. Pastor Ellen closed the door halfway, leaving only a narrow view. That is as much as she can handle today. I kept my eyes on the woman outside. She knows I'm here? Yes. Did she say my name? Sandra answered. She said Martin, not Dad. Martin. That hurt more than I expected. The woman outside turned slightly, not enough for me to see her full face. She looked toward the church building, then quickly away. Pastor Ellen spoke quietly. She is very afraid of her husband. Bruce Nolan didn't ask why I brought him a photograph first. He just put on his glasses, took the picture from my hand, and carried it under the fluorescent light over the counter. Bruce owned Nolan Auto Body on the west side of Dayton. He had known me since we were both young men trying to keep old equipment alive longer than the manufacturers intended. I fixed washing machines and refrigerators. He rebuilt doors, quarter panels, frames, and bumpers, after people learned too late that wet pavement did not care how careful they usually were. The photo was from the search file. I had kept copies in a cardboard envelope in my closet for 6 years, because grief will make a man save anything that looks like evidence, even after everyone else has moved on. Bruce looked at the image without speaking. It showed Jenna's car after it was pulled from the edge of a flooded low road outside Germantown. The front corner was crushed. Mud covered the tires. The driver's door hung open. A strip of weeds was caught under the bumper. Bruce turned the photo sideways. Who took this? Sheriff's office, I think. Maybe insurance. I got copies after the search. You ever show these to a body man? No. Why now? I had promised Pastor Ellen and Sandra I would not rush Jenna, and I had promised Maya I would not tell Trevor what she said. That left me with a small number of things I could do that did not put either of them at risk. I need to know whether the car looks like the story I was told. Bruce set the picture down. What story? My daughter drove off during heavy rain. Her car ended up near floodwater. People believed she was swept away. Bruce glanced at me over the top of his glasses. Believed? That word matters now. He nodded once and pulled a stool closer. For the next 20 minutes, he studied every photo I had brought. Some showed the front end, some showed the interior. One showed the road shoulder after water had started going down. Another showed the tow hook attached under the car. Bruce did not give me a dramatic answer. He started with what could be true. Water could have pushed it some. Mud could explain a lot. A low road washout can make a car look worse than the first hit was. So it fits? Some of it does. And the rest? He tapped the photograph showing the open door. This bothers me. The door? The angle. The edge damage doesn't match the way it's hanging. Could have happened when they recovered it, but if this door was open while water moved around it, I'd expect different marks. What kind? Scrape patterns, pressure against the hinges, maybe more twisting. But I'm looking at still photos, Martin, not the car. I know. He moved to the bumper photo. This also looks like it hit something before it sat where they found it. Meaning what? Meaning the car may have had front-end damage before it ended up by that road. I felt my jaw tighten. That prove anything? No. It means I'd want the tow record and the insurance file before I said a word stronger than maybe. I handed him the copy of the old insurance paperwork. Bruce read it, then frowned at the towing company listed near the bottom. Cody Briggs. You know him? Everybody in this business knows Cody. He's been running tow trucks around Montgomery County for 20 years. Not the cleanest paperwork guy, but not stupid. Did he tow Jenna's car? That's what this says. Can we talk to him? Bruce looked at the clock. We can ask. Whether he remembers a 6-year-old job is another matter. He called from the shop phone because Cody was more likely to pick up for him than for me. Bruce put the call on speaker only after telling Cody I was there. Cody answered like a man already irritated. What I damaged this time? Nothing yet, Bruce said. I've got Martin Prescott here. He wants to ask about an old recovery near Germantown. Woman's car, heavy rain, 6 years back. There was noise on the other end, a door closing and a radio going quiet. Prescott, Cody said. That the appliance guy? That's me, I said. Your daughter's car? Yes. Cody did not speak for a few seconds. I remember parts of it. Bruce gave me a look that said not to interrupt. Cody continued. I didn't find it first. That's what I remember. What do you mean? I asked. I was called after someone else had already reported it sitting there. I hauled it after county had looked at it. Who called you? Paperwork probably says dispatch. Probably? He exhaled. Look, it was a mess that week. Water calls everywhere. Cars stuck in ditches. People wanting insurance photos. I remember that vehicle because somebody called me before the official call. Bruce straightened. Who? I don't want trouble. This isn't about blaming you, I said. Cody was quiet again. A man called asking what it would cost to move a disabled car if it was on private property and he had the title connection. What man? Trevor Keller. Hearing Trevor's name in that shop made the air feel thinner. I kept my voice even. When was that? Night before the recovery, maybe. I can't swear to the time. Did you move it then? No. Why not? He got weird when I asked for the exact location and police clearance. Said never mind. Then next day I get a regular call about a car in floodwater. And there it is. Bruce asked, you ever tell anyone? Told the deputy on scene that someone had asked about moving a similar vehicle. He shrugged, said half the county was calling about stuck cars. Did you write Trevor's name down? I asked. No, it was a phone call. I didn't tow anything for him that night. Would you be willing to say this again if someone official asked? Cody laughed without humor. If official people start asking, I'll say what I remember and exactly how little I can prove. That's fair. Before he hung up, Cody added one more thing. The car didn't smell like it had been sitting in water long. Not the way some do, but that's memory, not science. The line clicked off. Bruce leaned back. That is not enough to accuse Trevor of staging anything. I know. It is enough to stop pretending the old story is solid. That sentence settled between us. I gathered the photos, but Bruce kept one copy. I'm going to make notes while this is fresh, he said. No conclusions. Just what I saw and what Cody said. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This kind of thing turns people careless. I'm not looking for a fight. You're a father who just saw a woman who might be your daughter through a church window. You are exactly the kind of man who needs someone to say slow down. He was right. I left Bruce's shop and went back to Prescott Appliance Repair because I needed paper, records, and something familiar under my hands. My office sat behind the service counter, beside a storage room full of belts, hoses, thermal fuses, and old manuals nobody else wanted to use. I opened the folder where I kept Trevor's bills. For years, I had treated those pages like proof that I was helping Maya. Tuition statements, medical invoices, utility bills, receipts for shoes and winter coats, a repair bill for Trevor's furnace, copies of check confirmations and transfers. At first, everything looked ordinary because I had been trained by habit to see it that way. Then I looked for patterns. The school expenses made sense. The pediatric bills matched what Trevor had told me. Some clothing purchases were reasonable. I could see Maya in half of them, wearing sneakers I remembered buying, and a purple winter coat she had complained was too puffy. Those pages mattered because Trevor had not used every dollar badly. That made the rest easier to hide. A few bills had vague labels. Household support, emergency travel, counseling-related expense, vehicle assistance. I had paid them because a grieving child and a tired father sounded like explanation enough. One transfer from 2 years earlier had gone to a payment service account with initials instead of a full business name. Another had gone to a small bookkeeping service outside Dayton. A third had been marked as childcare gap. But Maya had been in public school by then, and the summer program receipt for that same month had already been paid separately. I searched the bookkeeping service on my computer. The owner listed on the public page was Tara Whitmore. I did not know her name yet, not properly, but I wrote it down. Tara Whitmore. The website described her as an independent accounts consultant for small contractors and rental property owners. It was the kind of plain business page nobody notices until the name on it appears in the wrong folder. I found 2 more payments connected to the same service. None were large enough to jump out on their own. Together, they looked less like mistakes and more like someone had learned exactly how much I would ignore. My phone rang while I was still staring at the screen. Trevor. I let it ring twice before answering. "Hey," he said. "You get my text?" I did. "Were you able to handle the utility bill?" "Not yet." A pause. "You usually just send it over." "I usually do." "Something wrong?" "I'm catching up on records." "What records?" "Bills I've paid for Maya." He gave a short laugh that did not reach the rest of his voice. "Okay, you need copies again?" "I need explanations for a few things." "Explanations?" "Some charges are labeled too generally." "Martin, I've been doing this alone for 6 years. Not every receipt is going to look perfect." "I understand." "Do you?" The question came out sharper than he probably intended. I looked at Jenna's car photo lying beside my keyboard. "I'm trying to." He softened his tone. "Sorry, bad day. Maya's school stuff is piling up, and I'm behind on everything." "What school stuff?" "Supplies, activity fee, some counseling balance." "Send the invoices." Another pause. "Sure. Originals, not screenshots if you have them." "Why?" "So I can keep better records." "You planning to write me up like one of your customers?" "No." "Feels like it." I let that sit. Trevor cleared his throat. "I didn't mean that. I just thought we trusted each other by now." There it was. Trust. The word he had lived on for 6 years. "We do," I said. I disliked myself for saying it, but I needed him calm. "Then I'll send what I can find," he said. "Maya okay after yesterday?" "She seemed fine." "She say anything strange?" My hand tightened on the phone. "Strange how?" "She's been asking about her mom lately. Kids go through phases." "What kind of questions?" "Just kid questions. I don't want her upsetting you." "That's thoughtful." "You know what I mean." "I do." He ended the call after promising again to send invoices. 5 minutes later, 3 files came through. 2 looked legitimate. The third was a cropped image of a statement with the payee hidden. I printed everything. Then I drove back to Grace Harbor, but not to barge in. I parked where the staff had told me to park and went through the side entrance. Sandra met me in the hall. "She's not ready to talk today," she said before I asked. I figured. "Then why are you here?" I handed her a copy of the family photo, the one with Jenna in the jacket. "If she wants it, give it to her. If she doesn't, throw it away." Sandra looked at the photo. "Pastor Ellen said she cried after you left." "Did she say anything?" "She said your voice sounded older." "That should not have hurt, but it did." "I have some other information," I said. "Not for her yet, for you to understand why I'm worried." I told Sandra, briefly, about Bruce, Cody, and Trevor's strange questions about Maya. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "If there is financial exploitation or falsified information involved, you need law enforcement eventually." "I know. Eventually should not become after something bad happens. I'm trying not to make it worse." "That is not the same as making it safe." Pastor Ellen came down the hall, carrying a folded blanket. She saw me and stopped. "I gave her your first name," she said. "My first name?" She asked what you called yourself now. What did she mean by now? "I don't know." I did. Trevor had told Jenna some version of me that I had never been. Maybe cold, maybe angry, maybe ashamed of her, maybe all of it. "Did she say anything else?" Pastor Ellen hesitated. "She asked if your wife was still alive." I looked down. "What did you tell her?" "The truth. That Linda passed several years ago." Pastor Ellen stepped closer. "Mr. Prescott." She did not react like someone hearing old news. She reacted like someone who had been told a different story. "What story?" She did not say. From the back of the building, a door opened. A woman's voice floated down the hallway, too low to understand but close enough to make every muscle in my body go still. Sandra turned her head. Pastor Ellen said, "Stay here." I did. For once I did exactly what someone told me. The voice stopped. Footsteps moved away. A side door closed. Sandra returned after a minute. She saw the photograph. "And?" "She wants to keep it." That was the first thing she had taken from me in 6 years. Pastor Ellen folded her arms. "She also asked whether Trevor knows you came here." "No. Keep it that way for now." "I plan to." As I walked back to my truck, my phone buzzed with another text from Trevor. "Found more bills. Need help by Friday. Maya's stuff can't wait." I looked back at the church, then at the message. For the first time, Trevor sounded less like a struggling father and more like a man checking whether the door he had built around us was still locked. She was standing behind the fellowship hall with a laundry basket in her hands. Pastor Ellen stood beside me in the hallway. Sandra stayed near the side door. close enough to help but far enough not to make the moment feel like an appointment. Outside, the woman by the van had turned just enough for me to see her face through the narrow window. Older, thinner, worn down in a way no photograph could have prepared me for. But it was Jenna. Not someone who looked like her. Not a stranger in an old jacket. Not grief playing a cruel trick on an old man who had kept too many pictures in drawers. My daughter was 20 feet away. I reached for the doorknob without thinking. Pastor Ellen put a hand on my arm. Slowly, she said. Jenna saw the movement through the glass. Her shoulders pulled in. She looked toward the parking lot first, then toward the back fence, like a person checking exits before she checked faces. That was not how my daughter used to look at me. Pastor Ellen opened the door halfway. Jenna, she said gently, Martin is here. You can come inside or you can stay where you are. Hearing Pastor Ellen use her real name nearly took my breath. Sandra stepped outside and spoke to her in a low voice. Jenna kept looking past Sandra at me, then away, then back again. She seemed less surprised than afraid, as if she had expected this day but not survived the thought of it. After a minute, she handed the laundry basket to Sandra and walked toward the building. I stayed where I was. Every instinct in me wanted to cross the space and hold on until 6 years stopped being real. But if I moved too fast, I might become part of the danger Trevor had built inside her. She came through the side door and stopped near the table with donated coats. Up close, she looked like Jenna, and not enough like her. Her eyes were Linda's brown, and the scar under her chin was still there, but her face had sharpened and her hands looked rough. Hi, Dad, she said. That was when my control nearly broke. Hi, Jenna. Her eyes filled immediately. I did not ask where she had been or why she had let us believe she was gone. I did not mention Linda. I said, I'm not here to hurt you. She flinched anyway. Pastor Ellen moved a chair out from the small office. We can sit in here. Jenna looked at the room, then at the hallway. Door open, she said. Of course, Pastor Ellen answered. We sat around the small table. Pastor Ellen stayed by the door. Sandra remained outside the office, visible through the gap. Jenna chose the chair closest to the hallway, which told me more than any answer could have. Then Jenna said, Trevor doesn't know you're here? No. You didn't call him? No. You didn't tell Maya? Maya told me enough to make me come here. I haven't put anything back on her. Jenna closed her eyes when I said Maya's name. She's taller than I thought she'd be. She's 8. I know. The way she said it hurt. Knowing a child's age and knowing the child are different things. She asked about you because she saw you, I said. I didn't mean for that to happen. She saw the jacket. Jenna looked toward the denim folded beside the laundry bin. Mom fixed that pocket. I know. I thought you might throw it away if you ever found it. Why would I do that? She looked at me like the answer should have been obvious. Because of what I did. What did you do? Jenna's face changed. Not guilt exactly. Fear wearing the shape of guilt. I can't explain it right. You don't have to do it all at once. You should be angry. I have been angry for 6 years. I just didn't know who deserved it. Pastor Ellen glanced at me, a quiet warning not to push too hard. Jenna wiped her face with the heel of her hand. He said you knew. Trevor? She nodded. He said you knew why I had to stay away. He said you agreed. No. Her hands gripped the edge of the table. He said Mom couldn't handle seeing me. He said after she got sick, you told him not to let me come back near the family. I leaned back because if I stayed forward, I might scare her with how much that sentence did to me. Your mother wanted you home until the day she couldn't ask anymore. Jenna made a small sound. I didn't know she was that sick until after. I know. You don't. I begged him to take me to her. Then that is on him. She reached into the pocket of her sweatshirt and pulled out a folded envelope. The paper had been opened and closed so many times the crease was soft. She pushed it across the table. Is this one of the letters? She nodded. The handwriting on the outside was not mine, but it tried to be. Whoever wrote it had seen my blocky capital letters and copied them badly. My name was in the upper corner. Martin Prescott. My old home address. No stamp. I opened it. The first line made my stomach turn. Jenna, your mother and I know enough now. I read silently for as long as I could stand it. The letter said I was ashamed of her. It said she had brought trouble to the family. It said Trevor was protecting Maya from the damage Jenna had caused. It said if she loved her daughter, she would stay away until things were settled properly. I folded it before finishing. That is not my voice. Jenna whispered, I wanted it not to be. It isn't. He brought it to me after the memorial. I looked up. After what memorial? Mine. The room went very still. She continued, he said you held one because you needed people to stop asking questions. He said everyone thought I was dead now, and that made it safer until he could fix the records. That memorial nearly broke your mother. Jenna's face folded, but she did not cry loudly. The crying seemed old, like she had used up the dramatic part years ago, and only the damage remained. I watched part of it from his phone, she said. I remembered Trevor holding his phone during the service. At the time, I thought he was reading a message or trying to keep himself together. He recorded it for you? He said I needed to understand what going back would do. I put the letter on the table and flattened my palm over it. Jenna, listen to me carefully. I never agreed to keep you away. I never knew you were alive. I never wrote that. I never stopped loving you. Her jaw trembled. I don't know how to believe that fast. Then don't believe him faster than you believe me. Sandra looked into the room. Jenna, do you want a break? Jenna shook her head. No. If I stop now, I won't start again. Where have you been staying? I asked. Different places. Here? Sometimes. Not inside the church. They help with parking, meals, showers, referrals. Pastor Ellen lets me do laundry when volunteers are around. Sandra helped me get on a waiting list for transitional housing. Do they know your real name? Now they do. Before? Not all of it. Do you have identification? No. Money? Some cash. Phone? She shook her head. Not one Trevor doesn't know about. That answer told me the cage was still around her even here, behind a church with people trying to help. Does Trevor come here? Sometimes. For the food pantry? That's what he says. Does he know you're here? Her eyes moved to the hallway. Yes. Does he know they know who you are? No. Pastor Ellen's face tightened. Why would he bring Maya here if you were here? I asked. Jenna looked ashamed, though she had not created the situation. To remind me. Of what? That he could bring her close and still keep me away. For a moment, I could not speak. Then I said, You're not going back to wherever he tells you to go. She stiffened. You can't say that. I can. No, Dad. You don't know what he has. I know enough to start. You don't. She reached for the envelope, then stopped herself. There are more papers, emails, account pages, things with my name on them, things he said would put me in jail if I showed up. Do you have them? Some. Where? She looked at Pastor Ellen. In a storage locker Sandra helped me rent under the outreach program, not in my name. Sandra nodded once. I know the locker. Jenna swallowed. I kept them because part of me wanted to know whether I really did what he said. What did he say you did? She looked at me fully for the first time since she walked inside. He said I stole money from his clients and almost ruined your business when I tried to hide it. That never happened. I know you can say that. I can prove that. Her eyes searched my face for the lies she had been trained to expect. You'd help me? I came here because Maya asked why her mother was sleeping behind a church. There is no version of this where I turn around now. She covered her mouth with one hand and bent forward until Pastor Ellen stepped closer, then stopped when Jenna lifted her other hand to say no. When she sat back, she looked exhausted. I can't tell you everything today. You don't have to. But you need to know one thing. All right, Trevor didn't just let you think I was dead. She looked at the open door, at Pastor Ellen, at Sandra, then back at me. He made me believe you wanted me gone. Jenna asked Pastor Ellen to stay in the room before she started talking. Sandra brought in a legal pad, not to question her like police, but to keep the order straight. Jenna sat with her hands around a paper cup of water. She did not drink from it. I sat across from her and kept both palms flat on the table because I needed her to see they were empty. It started before the accident, she said. Months before. I nodded once. She had been working part-time for a property services company that handled small rental houses, duplexes, and contractor accounts around Dayton. It was supposed to be temporary work after Maya was born, something flexible enough that she could handle pickups, appointments, and the ordinary chaos of a toddler. Trevor knew the owner through construction clients and said it would be good for Jenna to have her own income again. At first it was boring, Jenna said. Invoices, receipts, rental deposits, late fees. Nothing important enough to ruin anyone. Trevor helped some of those same clients with repairs and tenant turnovers. That meant he came through the office often. He knew which landlords paid late, which contractors needed quick checks, and which businesses trusted familiar faces more than systems. Tara Whitmore was the outside bookkeeper. Jenna described her as polished in a way that made small offices feel smaller. Tara came in twice a week, always carrying a laptop bag and a coffee she never finished. She spoke to Jenna politely but never warmly. With Trevor, she was different. Quieter. Familiar. Too comfortable for two people who claimed they mostly discussed invoices. I noticed it before I admitted it, Jenna said. Noticed what? The way he checked his phone when she was there. The way she knew things about our schedule she should not have known. Jenna did not confront him at first. She had a toddler, a job, and a marriage that had become easier to manage when she stopped expecting Trevor to be honest about every mood. Then one afternoon she found two payments marked for the same repair job. Same property, same vendor, different invoice numbers. One had gone through the company's regular account. The other had been pushed through a secondary payment service. She asked Tara about it. Tara barely looked at the page. She said duplicate entries happen all the time, Jenna told me. Then she took the folder. A week later, another duplicate appeared. This one had Trevor's initials on a work approval. Jenna made a copy before asking anyone because something about the first folder disappearing had embarrassed her. She did not want to be treated like a confused receptionist twice. When she asked Trevor, he smiled in the kitchen and told her she was reading things outside her lane. That was his phrase, she said. Outside my lane. He told her property management was messy. Emergency repairs were sometimes paid twice and credited later. Small contractors used different names. Tara knew how to fix it. Jenna tried to let it go. Then she saw a payment listed under a vendor name she recognized from Trevor's phone. Not a company. A personne. Tara. It wasn't her full name, Jenna said. Just initials and a last name, but I knew. She printed the page and hid it in Maya's baby book box because Trevor never opened anything sentimental. 2 days later, Trevor came home early and said there had been a problem at work. He said Tara found irregularities. Pastor Ellen leaned against the wall beside the open door, listening without interrupting. Jenna continued. Trevor said several client accounts had been reviewed. He said login records showed that Jenna's employee credentials had accessed payment details connected to suspicious transfers. He acted worried, not angry. That mattered. If he had accused her outright, she might have fought harder. Instead, he sat beside her at the kitchen table and said, I know you didn't do this, but it looks bad. He showed her printed screenshots, usernames, timestamps, vendor records. A short email supposedly from Tara saying Jenna had asked unusual questions about payment corrections. Another page looked like a summary from a private investigator hired by one of the property owners. Did you ever see the originals? I asked. No. Only printouts? She nodded. Every time. Trevor told her not to call anyone at the office because it could look like she was trying to influence witnesses. He said Tara was nervous and might cooperate with investigators. He said if Jenna looked guilty, prosecutors would not care that she had a child at home. Then he used Maya. He said if I got charged, even before a conviction, there could be custody questions. He said your business might get pulled in because I had used your office computer a few times to print tax forms. You did use it, I said. Twice. That would not ruin my business. I know that now. At the time, Jenna was exhausted and scared. Trevor knew where to press. He said he had a friend who could help untangle the records quietly, but Jenna needed to be unreachable for a few days so nobody could serve her papers or pressure her into making a statement before he understood the full damage. A few days, she said. That was the first lie. The night she left, rain had been falling since afternoon. Maya was asleep. Trevor packed a small bag for Jenna and told her he had arranged a motel under another person's name. He said she should leave her phone because location data could hurt her. He took her driver's license because, according to him, if she got stopped and an officer ran her name, everything could collapse. He made each thing sound protective, Jenna said. Did you argue? Yes, but not enough. She looked ashamed. I said, he had been setting this up before that night. She heard me, but I could tell part of her still counted her own decisions, like charges against herself. Trevor drove her to a motel outside town first. He left her with cash, a prepaid phone that called only him, and a promise that he would bring Maya as soon as it was safe. The next day, he came back and said the situation had changed. Jenna's car had been found near floodwater. Search crews were involved. People thought she might have been swept away. I asked, how did he explain the car? He said he panicked. Trevor told her he had moved it after she left because he was afraid someone would trace her route to the motel. When the rain got worse, he claimed, the vehicle ended up near the low road. He said he never meant for people to think she was dead, but once they did, revealing she was alive would make her look guilty of fraud and faking a disappearance. He cried when he told me, Jenna said. I believed the crying more than the words. She wanted to call me. Trevor said no. He said I already knew there was an investigation. He said I was furious. He said he had begged me not to turn her in until he could prove someone else had used her login. Then came the first letter. She looked toward the envelope still on the table. I read that one until the paper tore. I did not pick it up again. Over the next weeks, Trevor brought more documents. A printed email from Tara, a fake demand letter from a property owner, a page that looked like it came from an attorney, then a short note supposedly from me saying he was handling Maya and that Jenna needed to stay away. Each document made the outside world smaller. Jenna stayed at the motel until Trevor said it was no longer safe. Then he moved her to a room behind a farmhouse owned by one of his repair clients, then to a basement apartment near Middletown. Then, after the memorial, to a cheap rental where nobody asked questions if cash arrived on time. Why didn't you run then? I asked. I did once. The room changed. She had made it to a bus station with a backpack and $42. She was ready to buy a ticket to Dayton and walk to my house if she had to. Trevor found her before she boarded. He didn't hit me, she said quickly, as if protecting the truth from exaggeration. He sat beside me and showed me a photo of Maya asleep in her crib. Then he showed me another letter with your name on it. That letter said if Jenna came near Maya while legal questions were open, I would support Trevor taking emergency custody. I never wrote that. I know. Now you know. Yes? Back then, she went with him. That became the pattern. Jenna would gather enough courage to question the story. Trevor would arrive with a document, a picture of Maya, or news about Linda. He told her Linda's health was getting worse because she could not handle what Jenna had done. Later, he told her Linda had died believing Jenna had chosen cowardice over her family. I closed my eyes. Pastor Ellen said softly, Martin, I'm all right. I was not, but I could stay still. Jenna wiped her face. He told me you wouldn't even put my name in Mom's obituary. Your mother's obituary named you. She looked at me. It did? She was survived by her husband, her daughter Jenna, and her granddaughter Maya. I refused to write it any other way. Jenna covered her mouth. For a long moment, that was the only sound in the room. Sandra wrote something down, then slid a tissue box closer without speaking. After Linda's death, Trevor's visits changed. He came less often. The prepaid phone stopped working. He brought cash instead of cards. He told Jenna she could not use her legal name because old records might still be flagged. When she asked how long that could last, he said fraud cases could stay open quietly for years. Was Tara still involved? I asked. I didn't know. What did he tell you about her? That she was scared of me. That she had found the records and given them to investigators. That if I contacted her, she would call the police. Jenna hated Tara for years without knowing Tara had likely helped build the cage. Eventually, Jenna stopped living only where Trevor placed her. One landlord sold a property. Another cash room became unsafe after a tenant threatened her. She slept in her car for a while, then lost it after it broke down, and she had no title. Someone at a laundromat told her Grace Harbor helped people without asking too many questions. That was the first place nobody asked me to prove I deserved food, she said. Pastor Ellen looked down. Jenna first gave the church a shortened name. She used no last name. Sandra helped her get showers, laundry access, food boxes, and safe parking when she had a borrowed car. Later, when the car was gone, the church helped her find temporary nights through a rotating shelter network and sometimes let her rest behind the building during outreach hours because she was too frightened to be seen inside. That was the part Maya had seen, not 6 years of sleeping behind a church. A recent, visible piece of a much longer collapse. Why was Maya here? I asked. Jenna's hands tightened around the cup. Trevor started coming to the food pantry after he realized I used it. To watch you? To remind me he could stand 10 feet from me with my daughter, and I still couldn't move. The first time Jenna saw Maya at Grace Harbor, Maya was holding a box of cereal in both hands while Trevor signed the pantry sheet. Jenna hid behind the van because she looked nothing like the mother in Maya's baby pictures, and because Trevor had told her one wrong move could take Maya from everyone. She looked right at me, Jenna said. I thought she didn't know. She knew enough. She shouldn't have had to. No. We let that sit because there was no comforting version of it. The break in Jenna's belief did not come from courage all at once. It came from a mistake Trevor made. He left an old folder in a bag of groceries. It held current bills he had meant to show me, including one with my handwritten note clipped to it. The note was ordinary. I had written that I paid Maya's school balance and asked Trevor to send the next statement directly. Jenna had not seen my handwriting in years, except on fake letters. She knew immediately the letters were wrong. Not because she remembered every curve of my writing, but because the note sounded like me. Direct. Worried about a bill being late. Nothing about shame. After that, she started saving everything. Printed letters. Screenshots Trevor left behind. Names on bills. Copies of pantry sign-in sheets where Trevor appeared. The storage locker Sandra helped arrange became the first place Jenna put proof that was not controlled by Trevor. "Why didn't you ask Pastor Ellen to call me then?" I asked. "I almost did." "What stopped you?" Jenna looked at the office door. "Because if I was wrong about even one part, I could lose the only safe place I had left." She also feared what I would see when I found her. Not my daughter returning with a clear story and clean hands, but a frightened woman without documents, money, or a way to explain 6 years of absence. Then Maya saw her. Trevor noticed Maya looking. He squeezed the child's shoulder and told her not to upset me with stories about strangers. That was when Jenna understood Maya had recognized something real. "I didn't speak to her," Jenna said. "I wanted to, but I didn't. I waited until they left, and then I threw up behind the van. Pastor Ellen had found her afterward." That was when Jenna told the church her full name. Sandra wrote it down and searched missing person information only far enough to understand the danger. They did not call Trevor or me because Jenna begged them not to. They started with safety. I respected that even while part of me hated every day I had not known. Jenna finally reached into her sweatshirt and pulled out a small key. "Locker key," she said. Sandra looked surprised. "You're sure?" Jenna nodded. "If I don't show him now, I'll talk myself out of it." She put the key on the table between us. There are more letters in there, the papers about the money, copies with Tara's name, and the first thing he gave me after he said I couldn't come home. What was it? "A printed statement with your business name on it." I felt myself go cold. "What did it say?" Jenna looked at me, and for the first time, fear was not the only thing in her face. There was anger beneath it. It said Prescott appliance repair had been used to move stolen money, and that you knew I was the reason. The first name that came out of the locker paperwork was Tara Whitmore. Sandra drove Jenna and me to the storage place after Pastor Ellen arranged for a volunteer to stay near the outreach entrance in case Trevor showed up at Grace Harbor. It was not a dramatic trip. The facility sat behind a tire store off a service road, the kind of place people use for Christmas decorations, old furniture, and boxes they did not want to admit they would never open again. Jenna's unit was small. Inside were 2 plastic tubs, a duffel bag, and a shoebox full of papers wrapped in grocery bags to keep damp out. Jenna did not step all the way in at first. She stood outside the roll-up door while Sandra handed the tubs to me. "This is what I kept," Jenna said. "Not everything, just what he forgot, or what I could copy." We took the papers back to a small conference room at the church because Sandra did not want Jenna sorting through 6 years of fear in a storage hallway. The first tub held fake letters with my name on them. The second held account pages, old invoices, screenshots, and several copies of documents Trevor had used to convince Jenna that my business had been dragged into her supposed fraud. One page carried the Prescott appliance repair name across the top, but the formatting was wrong. My logo was stretched. The address line used an old suite number from before I bought the building. The signature at the bottom tried to imitate mine, but leaned too far right. "That is not from my shop," I said. Jenna looked at the table, not at me. "I know that now." Sandra separated every page with Tara's name or initials. By the time she finished, the pile was thicker than I expected. Tara appeared as an accounts consultant, a witness to irregular payment behavior, and later as the payee behind charges Trevor had labeled as household or child-related support. "She wasn't outside this," Sandra said. "At minimum, she was close to the money." I called Bruce. He came to the church with a notepad and a face that told me he had already guessed the day was about to get worse. Pastor Ellen let him in after I explained that he was there for the car records, not to question Jenna. Bruce read Cody Briggs's name from the old tow line and then looked at the payment pages. "This Tara woman connected to vehicles?" "Bookkeeping," I said. "Small contractors, rental owners, property services." Bruce tapped one invoice. "Then why is a towing reimbursement routed through her consulting account?" The room went quiet. The line item was buried under an expense Trevor had sent me 2 years earlier. He had called it emergency transportation for Maya. I had paid it without thinking because the amount was not large and because a child's name on a bill can make a grandfather stupid. Bruce took a photo of the page, then stepped outside to call Cody again. This time Cody answered faster. When Bruce came back, his expression had changed. He remembers Tara. Jenna's hands went still. Bruce sat down. Cody says Trevor called him after the recovery and asked whether the first phone call could stay out of any paperwork. A woman called later from a bookkeeping number and paid an old balance Trevor owed him. Tara, Sandra said. Cody didn't know her name then. He looked at his bank records while I was on the phone. Payment came from Whitmore Account Services. I felt something cold and clean settle inside me. Not relief, not victory, certainty. Trevor had not only lied about the car, he had needed Tara to help keep that lie quiet. We worked through the bills until afternoon. Some were real. Maya's school charges, medical co-pays, a pair of eyeglasses. Those stayed in one stack because I refused to turn every ordinary expense into a weapon. The other stack grew slowly. A payment for family counseling that matched Tara's invoice number. A home repair emergency sent to a contractor who shared Tara's mailing address. A child care gap that landed in the same week Trevor had signed the food pantry sheet at Grace Harbor. Jenna watched each page move from one stack to the other. He was using Maya's name, she said. Yes? And mine. Yes. She pressed her lips together until the color left them. Pastor Ellen asked if she needed air. Jenna shook her head. No, I need to see it. I need to see it. That was the first time she sounded less like someone surviving the story and more like someone ready to stand inside it. My phone buzzed while Sandra was copying the pages. Trevor had sent another bill. This one was labeled school support and household catch-up. Attached was a cropped image with the payee hidden, but the file name had not been changed. Whitmore April service. Trevor had missed it. I showed the screen to Sandra, then to Bruce. Bruce gave a low whistle. He's getting sloppy. No, I said. He's getting comfortable. Trevor had spent 6 years teaching all of us to look where he pointed: Maya's needs, Jenna's supposed shame, my grief, Linda's death, the missing body, the old accident. Every time one question got close to him, he gave us another reason to feel guilty for asking it. Now the papers were giving us a different map. Tara was not a woman who had reported Jenna. She was the person whose accounts kept receiving money around the edges of Trevor's lies. Cody was not proof by himself, but his memory gave the car story a crack. The church records did not prove a crime, but they placed Trevor near Jenna while he kept telling the world she was gone. My bills did not show everything, but they showed enough to stop paying blindly. Sandra made 3 copies of the cleanest documents. One for Jenna, one for me, one sealed in a folder for whoever needed to see it officially. Pastor Ellen wrote down the name of a victim assistance office and told Jenna she did not have to decide everything that day. Jenna looked at the folder. I already decided one thing. What? I asked. I'm done hiding so he can keep being comfortable. Before I could answer, my phone rang. Trevor. I did not pick up. He called again. Then a text arrived. Martin, I need that payment today. Tara says the account needs to be cleared before it creates a bigger problem. He had finally put her name in writing. I turned the phone so Jenna could see it. Her face did not crumble this time. It hardened. Now you know, she said. I looked at Trevor's message, then at the folder between us. I did not say that aloud at first because knowing is not the same as proving. Bruce reminded me of that with one look. Sandra did too. The difference was that for the first time, the evidence did not depend on Jenna's memory or my grief. It had names, payments, dates written as billing periods, and a message Trevor had sent from his own phone while still believing I would obey. Yes, now I knew. By the end of that week, I stopped paying anything Trevor could touch. I did not stop paying for Maya. That distinction mattered to me more than anyone else at the table understood. Her lunch account, school balance, pediatric bills, and anything that could be verified as hers stayed covered. I called the school myself and paid the balance directly. I called the clinic and asked for statements sent to me before anything was processed. I even called the counselor Trevor had mentioned and learned there was no open balance under Maya's name. What I stopped doing was sending money through Trevor. The first day, he texted 3 times. The second day, he called before breakfast. I answered on speaker in my office at Prescott Appliance Repair with Bruce sitting across from me and Sandra on the line from Grace Harbor. Martin, I don't know what's going on with you, Trevor said, but Maya has expenses. Send the original invoices. I already sent what I had. You sent cropped images. They're screenshots. That's how people send things now. I need originals. He sighed hard enough for me to hear the performance in it. You realize this puts me in a bad spot. How? Because I have to keep things moving. School, utilities, food, gas. You know what it takes. I paid the school directly. He went quiet. What? I called the office. Balances handled. Another pause. You shouldn't go around me like that. I paid my granddaughter's school bill. That is not going around anyone. It is when I'm the parent. Bruce wrote 2 words on the pad in front of him. Stay calm. I looked at them, then send documentation for the rest. Trevor lowered his voice. Is this because Maya said something? My chest tightened, but I kept my tone flat. What would Maya say? She's 8. Kids repeat things. About what? I don't know. Her mother, the church, whatever she thinks she saw. Sandra's voice came through the muted line in my other ear, only after I looked at her name on the screen. She was not speaking to Trevor, but she had heard enough. Trevor continued before I answered. You can't let a little girl's imagination mess up how we've handled this family. How have we handled it? Together. The word landed like a hook. I did not bite. I want you to come by the shop tomorrow. For what? To go over the bills. Martin, I'm busy. So any. This feels unnecessary. Then it should be quick. He laughed once. You really want to sit across from me with receipts like I'm one of your vendors? If the receipts are clean, that should not bother you. That ended the polite part. You're making a mistake, Trevor said. Maybe. I've protected you from a lot of ugly things. Bruce underlined stay calm twice. What ugly things? You know exactly what I mean. No, Trevor, I don't. The line stayed open long enough for me to hear him breathing. I'll be there, he said. Tomorrow afternoon. Fina. And bring anything connected to Tara Whitmore. This time the silence was immediate. Why would I do that? Because her name is on some of the expenses you've sent me. You don't know what you're looking at. Then come explain it. He ended the call without saying goodbye. Sandra came off mute. He knows you're close. I know. Jenna cannot be at your house. She won't be. She should not be anywhere Trevor can guess. She'll stay with the church program? For tonight, yes. After that, we need something safer. Pastor Ellen helped arrange that before sunset. A retired couple from the church had a furnished room over their detached garage in Centerville. They had hosted people before through the outreach network. Jenna did not want to go at first, not because she trusted Grace Harbor less, but because moving still felt like the beginning of punishment to her. I drove behind Sandra while she took Jenna there. Jenna sat in Sandra's car with the folder on her lap. She did not look out the window much. When we arrived, she stood on the driveway while Pastor Ellen introduced her to the couple, and I watched her wait for permission before stepping inside. That small hesitation told me Trevor had trained her better than he deserved. I did not go into the room. Jenna asked me not to. I need one place he hasn't touched, she said. I said yes. Then I went back to my shop and called the number Pastor Ellen had given me. Detective Mark Ellison answered after 2 transfers. I told him my name, my daughter's name, and enough of the story that he stopped typing for a few seconds. Mr. Prescott, he said, I need to be careful here. If your daughter is an adult and says she left voluntarily, that changes the way this begins. She was manipulated with fake documents. I understand that's what you believe. I have copies. Copies are useful. Originals are better. Digital source material is best. She has a storage locker with papers. Some bills came directly from my son-in-law's phone. A tow operator remembers a call that does not fit the original accident story. A church outreach program can confirm she has been receiving assistance under fear of her husband. Detective Ellison did not promise an arrest. I appreciated that more than if he had tried to comfort me. What I can do, he said, is take a report, preserve what you have, and advise you not to create a confrontation that could become unsafe. I already asked him to come to my shop. A long silence followed. When? Tomorrow afternoon. Is your daughter going to be there? No. That was the plan when I said it. Keep it that way, he replied. Do not surprise him with her. Do not record illegally. Do not threaten him. Do not detain him. Ask for records if you want, but if he leaves, he leaves. What if he brings Tara? Even better for information, but not for drama. You let them talk. You do not play detective beyond asking about your own money. I understand. Do you? I looked at the folder on my desk. I'm trying to. He took my information and told me to email scans through an evidence intake address after we made a formal report in person. He also told me something practical that I wrote down. Keep the child away from this meeting. Maya was with Trevor that night. That fact sat in my chest heavier than the folder. I could not simply take her. Trevor was still her legal parent. I could not drag her into my house because I had learned the truth before the court did. Sandra reminded me of that when I called her afterward. Protecting Maya now means not making choices that Trevor can use against Jenna later, she said. I hate that sentence. So do I. We decided I would not pick Maya up, not call her, not ask her questions, and not tell her anything yet. Pastor Ellen would document what Maya had said, only if it became necessary through proper channels. Sandra would keep Jenna away from Grace Harbor during pantry hours, so Trevor could not use the church to corner her. I also called my bank and asked them to hold any automatic transfer connected to Trevor's accounts. The woman on the phone asked whether I wanted to close anything permanently. I told her not yet. I needed every account preserved exactly as it was, because changing too much too fast could make the paper trail harder to explain later. Bruce spent that evening in my shop helping me sort the papers into something a man like Trevor could not dismiss as grief. Stack 1. Bills I had paid directly and could verify. Stack 2. Bills Trevor sent me that had missing payee information. Stack 3. Documents with Tara's name, initials, account, or business. Stack 4. Car photographs and Cody's written statement, which Bruce persuaded him to text after explaining that memory had more value before fear had time to edit it. Stack 5. Fake letters and pages carrying my name or business name. I put Jenna's copies in a separate folder and locked them in my desk. At 10 that night, Trevor texted again. Can Tara come tomorrow? She handles some records and can clear up the bookkeeping confusion. I stared at the message, then showed Bruce. Answer simple, he said. I typed, yes. Bring original records. Trevor replied within seconds. Don't make this weird in front of her. Bruce read it and shook his head. He's already planning which version of himself to bring. Good. Not good. Useful. I corrected myself. Useful. The next morning, I opened the shop like normal. That was the hardest part to explain to anyone who has never been inside a family crisis. The world keeps asking for ordinary things. A woman needed a dryer belt. A landlord wanted 3 stove knobs. One of my technicians called in sick because his kid had a fever. I answered phones, signed a parts order, and unlocked the bay door while a part of my life that had been buried 6 years was sitting in a folder under my desk. At noon, Detective Ellison called to confirm he had received the summary I sent. I am not coming to stage a scene in your shop, he said. I didn't ask you to. I may have an officer nearby. That is not a promise of intervention unless there is a safety issue or probable cause develops independently. Understood. Mr. Prescott, if your goal is to get an admission, be careful. People say things under stress that are hard to use later. Your goal should be clarity and preservation. My goal is my granddaughter. Then keep your temper out of it. After that call, I sat alone in my office for 5 minutes and practiced saying the same sentence until it stopped shaking. I need documentation before I pay anything else. Not, where is Jenna? Not, what did you do? Not, how could you stand in my house and lie about my child? Just the sentence. At 2:30, Pastor Ellen called. Jenna wants to come. No. She expected you to say that? She is not walking into a room with Trevor. She said she won't walk in. She wants to be nearby. That's not safe. She said safety without choice feels too much like what he did. I closed my eyes. There are sentences you cannot argue with because the argument proves them right. What does Sandra think? That if Jenna comes, she stays in the back office with Sandra, away from the front. No one tells Trevor unless Jenna chooses. The door stays unlocked. She has her own ride out. I did not like it. I agreed because Jenna had spent 6 years with men making decisions over her head in the name of protection, and I would not become another one. Sandra brought Jenna through the rear entrance just before 3. Jenna wore plain jeans, a black sweater, and no makeup. She looked pale but steady. I met her by the parts shelves. You do not have to do this, I said. I know. You can leave whenever you want. I know that too. Do you? She looked at me. I'm learning. Sandra took her into my office and pulled the blinds on the interior window halfway down. Bruce stayed near the service counter. I put the folders on the conference table in the small room we used for employee meetings and vendor calls. At 3:12, Trevor's SUV turned into the lot. He parked near the front like he always had. For a second, seeing him through the glass made the past 6 years line up in my head the wrong way. Birthday drop-offs, school pickups, bills, quiet apologies. The man who stood beside me at a memorial while my daughter watched through his phone. Then the passenger door opened. A woman stepped out wearing a cream coat and carrying a leather folder. Tara Whitmore looked around my shop with the expression of someone entering a place she had already decided was beneath her. Trevor held the door for her. Bruce leaned toward me and spoke low. "Let them come in first." I nodded. The bell over the front door rang. Trevor smiled like a man arriving to fix a misunderstanding he had created. "Martin," he said, "this is Tara. I figured she could help clear things up." Trevor walked into my shop, smiling like a man collecting another favor. Tara stood half a step behind him, close enough to look supportive and far enough to act like she had been dragged into a problem that did not belong to her. She placed her leather folder on the conference table before she sat, then looked around the room at the part shelves, the employee schedule on the wall, and the old coffee maker in the corner. "This shouldn't take long," she said. Her voice was calm, professional, practiced. Trevor gave me a look that almost passed for embarrassment. "Tara handles the bookkeeping side of some things," he said. "I figured she could explain what you're confused about." Bruce stayed by the service counter, not in the room, but close enough to hear if voices rose. I had left the office door behind me closed. Jenna and Sandra were on the other side of that wall, and every part of me knew that was one wall too few. I sat across from Trevor. "I'm not confused," I said. "I'm missing documentation." Tara opened her folder. "Mr. Prescott, from what Trevor explained, you've been helping with family expenses for several years. That kind of informal arrangement can get messy, especially when people start reconstructing records after the fact. Then let's make it less messy." She smiled like I had said something reasonable. "Exactly." I opened the first folder. "School balance. Paid directly this week. Verified." Trevor shifted. "I was going to handle that." "He handled it." Tara glanced at him, then back at me. "That one is clear enough." I moved the page aside. "Pediatric clinic. Verified. No outstanding balance." Trevor's jaw tightened. "Maya has other needs, Martin." "I know. That is why I'm going line by line." I placed the cropped statement he had sent beside a full copy from the clinic. "This image you sent me as medical follow-up does not match the clinic statement." Tara leaned forward. "May I see?" I slid her a copy, not the original. She studied it for a few seconds. "This could be a scanning issue. It hides the payee. People crop personal information all the time. It also uses the same file name structure as a Whitmore Account Services invoice." That was the first time Tara stopped performing. Only for a second. Trevor spoke before she could. I forwarded what I had. "Maybe I clicked the wrong file." "Then bring the right one." I said maybe. I kept my voice level. "Next item, emergency transportation for Maya." Trevor frowned. "What about it?" "Maya was in school that day. I checked attendance." "You checked my kid's attendance?" "My granddaughter's attendance." "You had no right." I had enough concern. Tara held up one hand, as if she could referee the room. "That charge may have been for a related household transportation issue. Family expenses are not always tied to the child being physically present." "Then why label it with her name?" Trevor leaned back. "Because you always wanted everything to be about Maya. That's how you paid without making me beg." There it was, small and ugly, but real. I let silence hold it. Tara's eyes cut toward him. Trevor realized what he had said. "I didn't mean it that way." "I think you did." He looked at the closed office door, then at me. "What is this really about?" "Records." "No. You've been weird since you took Maya for ice cream." I did not answer. Trevor's face changed. "What did she say?" I opened the next folder instead. "This payment went to Whitmore Account Services." Tara sat straighter. "My company provides administrative support to several small clients. Was I one of them?" "No." "Was Maya?" "That's not a serious question." "Then why did a charge sent to me as childcare support route through your account?" "I would need context." I gave it to her. Date. Amount. Trevor's text. The cropped image. The invoice number, matching her service format. Tara did not look at Trevor this time. "I can't verify that without reviewing my own records." "Bring them." "I don't have them here." "You came here to clear things up." She closed her folder slightly. "I came because Trevor said you were withholding money for a child and misreading old paperwork." Trevor said, "You are." I put the car photographs on the table. "Let's talk about the night Jenna disappeared." Trevor's expression emptied. For a moment, the shop noise outside the room seemed too loud. A phone rang at the counter. Bruce answered it, spoke softly, and hung up. Tara looked from the photographs to Trevor. "Why are we talking about that?" "Because Cody Briggs remembers your call," I said to Trevor. His mouth tightened. I don't know what Cody thinks he remembers. He remembers you asking about moving a disabled car before the official recovery. That was 6 years ago? Yes. People remember things wrong. Maybe. Jenna was unstable that night. The words came too fast. I saw the closed office door move a fraction. I kept my eyes on Trevor. What does unstable mean? She was upset. About what? Our marriage, money, her mother, everything. My wife was alive then. I meant family pressure. You told us she left after an argument. She did. You told Jenna you moved the car because you panicked. The room went still again. Tara looked at him. You told who? Trevor stared at me. What did you just say? I did not repeat it. That was when the office door opened. Jenna stepped out before Sandra could stop her. She stood beside the parts shelf in a black sweater, one hand on the doorframe, pale but upright. Trevor did not recognize her at first. Not fully. His mind would not allow it. Then he did. His chair scraped back so hard it hit the wall. No, he said. Jenna looked at him without moving closer. Hello, Trevor. Tara whispered. Oh my God. Trevor's eyes went from Jenna to me, then back to Jenna. What are you doing here? Jenna's voice shook, but it held. Standing where you told me I could never stand. You need to leave. No. He pointed at me. You don't know what she's done. I know what you said she did, I answered. Trevor rounded on Jenna. You think walking in here fixes anything? You think this makes the records go away? Jenna flinched, then caught herself. What records? The ones you ran from. The ones you printed. Tara stood. I am not comfortable being part of this. Bruce stepped into the doorway from the service counter. Nobody is blocking you. Tara looked at him, then at the front door, but she did not move. Leaving would mean leaving Trevor alone with the papers and the woman who had just come back from the dead. Trevor lowered his voice. Jenna, you are confused. No, I was confused for 6 years. Today I am tired. He tried a different tone, the one I had heard on the phone when he wanted money without asking too hard. Come on, you know what happened. I protected you. You hid me. I kept you out of jail. There was no warrant. You don't know that. Then show it. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Jenna took one step farther into the room. Show me one real letter from a real attorney. Show me one police report with my name on it. Show me one message from my father that came from his phone, his email, or his hand. Trevor looked at Tara. That was all the answer any of us needed. Tara said, Do not look at me like that. You helped manage the accounts, he snapped. You told me she knew. Jenna turned toward her. Knew what? Tara's face flushed. That you were staying away until things cooled down. Things cooled down? I didn't know he told your family you were dead. Trevor barked. Shut up. Bruce moved 1 foot into the room. I said, Careful. Not to Bruce. To Trevor. Trevor heard it and tried to recover. This is insane, Martin, she left. She chose this. I did what I could for Maya while everyone blamed me for not saving her. No one blamed you, I said. We trusted you. He laughed, and there was no warmth in it. You paid me. That's what you did. The sentence hung there like smoke. Tara closed her eyes. Jenna looked at me, not surprised, only wounded by hearing it said aloud. I picked up the folder of fake letters and laid one page in front of Trevor. Did you write these? He barely glanced at them. No. Tara? She shook her head. I never wrote letters from him. But you saw them? Trevor said, Don't answer that. Tara stepped away from him. I saw some drafts. I didn't know he used them. Jenna's hand left the doorframe. Drafts? Tara looked trapped now. He said you needed to stay calm. He said if you thought your father was still reaching out, you'd make things worse. Trevor slammed his palm on the table. You stupid. The front bell rang before he finished. Detective Mark Ellison walked in with one uniformed officer behind him. He did not storm the room. He did not shout. He looked at Bruce, then at me, then at Trevor and Tara. Everyone keep your hands visible and stay where you are. Trevor turned red. What is this? Detective Ellison showed his badge. Mr. Keller, we're here because a report has been filed involving falsified documents, financial exploitation, and information related to a missing person matter. No one is under arrest at this second, but no one is leaving with documents from this room. Tara immediately stepped back from the table. I want a lawyer. That is your right, Ellison said. Trevor pointed at Jenna. She is mentally unstable. She has been hiding for years. Jenna answered before anyone else could. I was hiding from you. Ellison looked at her. Miss Keller, Sandra Foster is here with you? Sandra stepped out from the office. Yes. Good. Stay with her. Trevor's face changed when he saw Sandra. He understood then that this had not been one emotional ambush by an old man. Other people knew. Ellison turned to me. Mr. Prescott, do not touch the papers. I lifted both hands. Trevor tried to move toward the table. The uniformed officer stepped between him and the folders. Sir, I need my documents. Ellison said, those may be evidence. They're copies. Then you won't miss them. Tara said nothing now. She had folded into herself, calculating distance. Trevor kept looking at Jenna as if the force of his anger could still move her back into the life he had assigned her. Jenna, he said softer, think about Maya. That name almost did what he wanted. I saw her body react. 6 years of conditioning do not vanish because a detective walks into a room. Then Jenna took one breath. I am thinking about Maya. Trevor's eyes sharpened. You'll ruin her. No, she said. I'm done letting you use her to keep me quiet. He looked at me. Martin, tell her. For 6 years, he had used me as a ghost against my own daughter. My name on letters I never wrote. My money through bills I did not understand. My grief as proof that silence was safer. Now he wanted my voice. No, I said. That was all. One word. It did not sound dramatic. It sounded overdue. Detective Ellison asked Trevor and Tara to sit in separate areas while he made calls and secured the documents. Tara cooperated immediately. Trevor argued until the officer warned him again. Jenna stayed in the doorway with Sandra. She did not cry. She did not walk to Trevor. She did not ask why. When Ellison told Trevor he would need to come in for a formal statement, Trevor turned one last time toward her. You know I was the only one who kept you safe. Jenna looked at him like she was finally seeing the sentence instead of living inside it. No, she said. You kept me useful. Trevor had no answer for that. The officer escorted him outside to speak beside the patrol car. Tara followed Detective Ellison to the front counter, already explaining that she had only handled what Trevor provided. Ellison asked whether anyone had been threatened that day. Jenna said no. I said no. Bruce said Trevor had raised his voice and nothing more. It mattered that we told the plain truth. I wanted consequences, but I did not want to poison the first official record with exaggeration. Trevor had lived on distorted stories long enough. Sandra guided Jenna back toward the office while the officer copied names from everyone's identification. Jenna paused beside me only once. You didn't make me come out, she said. No, I needed that. I know. For the first time that day, I believe she did. I stayed where I was until Jenna walked into the conference room and picked up the fake letter from the table. She folded it once. Then she tore it in half. Not for show, not for forgiveness, not for closure. She just made one piece of his lie smaller than it had been. The legal part did not fix the family part. It only gave the damage a place to be recorded. Detective Ellison took statements first, not sides. Jenna gave hers at a victim services office 2 days later, with Sandra beside her and an advocate in the room. I gave mine after that. Bruce gave his notes about the car photographs. Cody Briggs gave a written statement about Trevor's call before the recovery and the later payment from Whitmore Account Services. None of it turned into a clean television ending. Trevor was not taken straight from my shop to a cell for the rest of his life. Tara did not confess everything because guilt suddenly found her. The first weeks were paperwork, interviews, subpoenas, bank records, old phone data, and people saying they needed time to review what could be proven. That was frustrating, but it was also real. Detective Ellison told me more than once that anger was not evidence. The fake letters mattered. The payments mattered. The message where Trevor mentioned Tara mattered. Jenna's storage locker mattered. Cody's memory helped, but memory alone could not carry the whole case. What finally moved things forward was the money trail. Tara's accounts had received payments Trevor had described to me as family expenses. Some invoices were tied to services that never involved Maya. A few documents carrying my business name had been created on a computer connected to Tara's bookkeeping work. Trevor's phone records placed him near Grace Harbor more often than he had admitted, and church sign-in sheets showed he used the food pantry while knowing Jenna was receiving help there. The missing person file was reopened, then corrected. I had to sit in an office and sign a statement confirming that my daughter was alive. That sentence should have brought only relief. It did not. It brought relief, rage, grief, embarrassment, and a strange kind of guilt that had nowhere sensible to go. I had trusted Trevor with my granddaughter. I had let him control the schedule. I had paid what he asked for because I thought suspicion would make me a cruel old man. Jenna told me not to carry all of that. I told her the same thing. Neither of us listened very well at first. Trevor was eventually charged with several financial and document-related offenses. The prosecutors did not phrase it like a family betrayal. They used terms that sounded colder: falsified records, fraudulent billing, identity-related misuse, obstruction connected to a missing person investigation, and exploitation of funds intended for a minor. Tara faced charges connected to the bookkeeping records and false invoices. Her attorney tried to present her as a professional who trusted Trevor too much. That did not fit the drafts, the payments, or the account history, but it was still the story she chose. Cody was not treated like a mastermind. He had been careless, and he had stayed quiet too long, but the records supported what he said. He did not move Jenna's car that night, and he did not know what Trevor was building around it. His cooperation helped more than his silence had hurt. Family court moved slower than my heart wanted. Maya stayed with a temporary caregiver, approved through the court for a short period while everyone's living situation was reviewed. I hated that too, but Sandra explained it plainly. A child cannot be moved from one crisis straight into another just because the adults finally learn the truth. Jenna had supervised visits first. That word broke her. Supervised, she said, like it meant she had failed a test. It means they are being careful, I told her. She's my daughter. I know. The first visit lasted less than an hour. Maya sat with a counselor nearby, holding a stuffed rabbit she had outgrown years earlier. Jenna did not rush her. She did not demand a hug. She did not explain 6 years in words no child could carry. She said, "Hi, Maya." Maya stared at her for a long time and then asked, "Do you still have the jacket?" Jenna cried, but she answered, "Yes." That was where they started. Not with a miracle. With a jacket. I stopped every automatic payment connected to Trevor. Anything from Maya went directly to the school, the clinic, the counselor, or into a separate account reviewed by the attorney handling the family matter. I did not like having lawyers in our lives, but I liked hidden money less. I recovered some funds after Trevor and Tara's accounts were frozen and reviewed. Not all. Not close. That was another lesson. Truth does not hand you back every dollar, every year, or every night you lost sleep. It only stops the lie from collecting more. Trevor tried to send messages through his attorney, first to me, then to Jenna. He wanted to explain. He wanted us to understand what pressure he had been under. He wanted Maya to know he loved her. Jenna did not open the letter addressed to her. She handed it to her attorney and said any required communication could stay in the proper channel. I did the same. There was no private phone call, no meeting in a parking lot, no emotional conversation where he got to cry and call it closure. The court placed limits on Trevor's contact with Maya while the criminal case moved forward. Later, those limits tightened after more financial records came out. I will not pretend every decision went exactly the way I wanted, because courts do not exist to satisfy a grandfather's anger. But for the first time in 6 years, Trevor was not the person deciding what everyone else was allowed to know. Jenna moved into a small apartment arranged through the outreach network and a local housing program. She began replacing identification, opening an account in her own name, and meeting with a therapist who did not let her call herself stupid for surviving. That may have been the hardest work. Paperwork was easier than believing she deserved a life. One afternoon, after a court review, Trevor's attorney sent one more request. He wanted Jenna to read a personal apology before the next hearing. She looked at the envelope for a long time. Then she slid it across the table to me. "Can you throw that away?" I did not open it. I walked it to the shredder at my shop and fed it in slowly, page by page, until there was nothing left for him to say to us privately. By the next spring, Trevor's name was no longer spoken at our dinner table. Not because we pretended he had never existed, because he no longer owned the room. That was the difference Jenna's therapist kept trying to teach us. Silence can be fear, but it can also be a boundary. For 6 years, Trevor had been present even when he was not standing there. He was in the bills, the schedule, the missing answers, the stories Maya was allowed to tell, and the ones she was told to swallow. We stopped giving him that space. Jenna moved into a small apartment 5 minutes from my house. It was not impressive. 1 bedroom, thin walls, a kitchen table from the church donation room, and a couch Bruce helped carry up the stairs after a customer gave it away. Jenna cried when she got the key, not because the apartment was beautiful, but because nobody else held a copy and called it protection. Maya's visits grew slowly. At first, she came with a counselor, then with me waiting in the parking lot. Later, I sat in Jenna's living room, pretending to read a magazine while they made grilled cheese and talked about school. They did not become mother and daughter again in one afternoon. Maya had questions that came out sideways. Why didn't you come to my kindergarten concert? Did you know Dad said you were in heaven? Were you cold behind the church? Jenna answered what she could and admitted what she could not. She never blamed Maya for loving Trevor. She never asked the child to hate him on her behalf. That took more strength than any confrontation in my shop. One evening, Maya brought the denim jacket from Jenna's closet and laid it on the couch. Can I try it on? Jenna looked at me first, then caught herself. You can ask me, Maya said. Jenna smiled through the hurt. Yes, you can. The jacket swallowed Maya whole. The yellow sun patch sat halfway down her side, loose threads showing where Linda's hands had once worked through the fabric. Maya turned in front of the mirror and said she looked silly. Jenna said, You look like someone your grandmother would have loved. That was the first time Maya asked about Linda without lowering her voice. I changed how money moved after that. No more personal transfers to adults who claimed they would handle things. Maya's school was paid directly. Medical bills went through statements. Counseling was covered through an account the attorney could review. I set up savings for Maya with rules clear enough that no one could turn my love into a blank check again. That was not cold. It was clean. Trevor's case took longer than people think a story should take. There were hearings, continuances, negotiations, and words like agreement, restitution, compliance, and supervised contact. Tara's attorney fought to separate her from him. Trevor's attorney tried to make him sound overwhelmed, cornered, and misunderstood. Maybe he had been overwhelmed. Maybe he had felt cornered. None of that gave him the right to bury my daughter inside a lie and raise my granddaughter inside its shadow. The court eventually accepted plea agreements on several charges. Trevor's contact with Maya stayed restricted and structured through the court. Tara lost clients, her bookkeeping license access, and more money than she thought she could hide. I recovered only a portion of what I had paid, but the part I cared about most was no longer in his hands. Cody kept towing cars. Bruce still complained that people bought cheap replacement parts and expected miracles. Pastor Ellen still ran Grace Harbor with a tired smile and a backbone made of steel. Sandra still called Jenna every other week long after it was required, because some people understand that rescue is not a single afternoon. Jenna started working part-time at a nonprofit resale store, then began helping with inventory because she liked numbers when nobody used them against her. She replaced her driver's license, opened her own bank account, and bought a used phone that was hers alone. The first contact she saved was Maya. The second was me. She asked before adding my number, which broke my heart in a small, quiet way. Jenna, I told her, you don't need permission to call your father. She looked down at the phone. I'm learning that too. Trevor tried once more to reach us outside the proper channels. A card arrived at my house, addressed to Maya, in handwriting I knew immediately. I did not open it. I took it to the attorney, and the attorney took it to the court. That was the whole story of it. No midnight phone call. No secret apology. No meeting where he got to explain his pain until we forgot ours. People sometimes want a family story to end with forgiveness, because forgiveness feels cleaner than a boundary. I understand why. Forgiveness looks soft on camera. It sounds noble when someone tells it at the end. But there are people who do not want forgiveness. They want access. Trevor wanted a door back into the family he had used for money, cover, and control. We did not give him one. Jenna did not go to see him. Maya was never asked to choose him or erase him. Her counselor helped her understand that adults can love a child and still harm the people around that child. That was a hard lesson. It was also a safer one than pretending everything could be repaired with one apology. Some weeks, Maya was angry at all of us. Some weeks, she missed the father she thought she had. We let those feelings exist without handing Trevor another chance to shape them. By summer, Jenna no longer needed Grace Harbor's safe parking list. She still volunteered at the pantry once a month, not because she owed them a debt, but because she knew what it meant to stand in a line and hope nobody asked too much. The last time I took Maya for ice cream, she chose the same booth. She remembered. Children always do, even when adults wish they would not. Halfway through, she looked at me and said, Mom has a bed now. I said, yes, she does. And she doesn't sleep behind the church. No. Maya nodded, then went back to her ice cream. Like that answer had put something in the right place. I looked across the table at my granddaughter and thought about how close I had come to funding my own family's silence for the rest of my life. Love made me pay Trevor. Fear made Jenna stay hidden. Innocence made Maya ask the question the rest of us should have been brave enough to ask sooner. I do not believe every family can be saved by keeping everyone inside it. Sometimes the only way to protect a family is to remove the person who learned how to use love as a weapon. Trevor is not welcome in my home. Tara is not a name we soften with excuses. Jenna is alive. Maya is safe. And that is the only ending I needed.